Samara, being a lady of the panel, you're up here.
Hi everyone, my name is Samara Ferris. I'm running for County Legislator District 4. My husband and I own Bashville Vineyards in Worcester, New York. In case you've heard of it. I am qualified for this job because we own two businesses together. I'm endorsed by the CSEA because I support fair contracts. I support good working hours. I support good working conditions. I'm a vice chair of the Democratic Committee. I'm endorsed by the Mammoth Democratic Committee, the Sullivan County Democratic Committee. I'm a member of the VKA and have raised thousands of dollars to support the VK and to protect our rural lands and our wetlands. I'm also endorsed by Dan Leader, who's the founder of Bread Alone Bakery, an organic business in Ulster and Sullivan County, because I support small businesses. Small businesses are, for me, the way that we support our community, because big businesses can do a lot, they can hire many people, but when they leave, it devastates a community. And the real organic structure of our community that employs people, that really keeps us going, is our small businesses. And that's something I really want to focus on. I'm also endorsed by many local farms, and I use local farms only in our business. So there are many farms like Hidden Acre Farm and Somewhere in Time Farm that I use because I want to keep our money local. That is really important for me, that we should keep the money here in the area. We need to keep the money going with our neighbors. I'm running because this is my home. This is where I want to be. I know you all live here because this is where we have the most beautiful nature. We've got everything that people come here for. This is a great resource for us with tourism. At our vineyard, we have moved to environmental sustainability, and we've used 80% less glass by moving a lot of our wines to kegs. And I just want to say that this is something that we can all strive for. Yes, kegs. We can put our wine in kegs, but it cuts down on a lot of the glass waste. And so we can make environmental choices that are ethical, but also financially viable. And it's something that's really important in this area especially, because this is what we have to offer. We have nature, we have a huge aquifer, we have these resources that people come here for, they stay here for. So let's protect these resources. Let's make this happen. Let's use green energy. We don't need millions of dollars, but we do need to come together. We do need to stick together. We do need to protect these resources that we have here, that people come here to visit for. They come here to spend money. They come here to raise their children in this area. And I want to support that. I want to protect that valuable resource. I'm also working with local farms in order to bring better nutrition to schools. I think it's an incredible opportunity that we can stick together with. We've got incredible farms, and Sullivan County is one of the only counties in New York that is increasing in its amount of farms. So let's take those farms and let's connect them with schools to teach kids about good nutrition. Let's teach kids about opportunities in their community. Let's teach them good ethics and good work and good history with their area, and teach them how to connect with the world around them. I'm also looking to protect the aquifers in our area. Water is the most important resource. It's becoming even more important. And I will fight things like mushroom plant. I will fight mining. And I will work hard to protect all the water. This, as you guys know, will only become more and more valuable. I'm really proud to be here. I am proud to be a voice of this community. I am proud to have you guys as my neighbors. I will fight to represent you. I'm on the ethics board, and I am always fighting for this area to represent you, to talk with you. I'm here, I'm in this community, living, working, and I want to be a part of it. I want to represent you at the county. A little bit about me is that I am the granddaughter of a woman who was born in rural Kentucky, who only got shoes when she was 10 years old, her first pair. I'm also the granddaughter of a woman who came here from Lebanon as an immigrant for a better life. She came here to New York, and she was illiterate her entire life. She never learned to read. She never learned to write, but she always instilled in us this focus for education, this focus for betterment. And my father was the first one in his family to go to college. And that really showed me the value of hard work. Where my husband and I own Bashco Vineyards, we have planted 1,000 vines on our own land ourselves. We don't spray any chemicals, it's all organic, because we really believe that you can make a difference. And we really believe that if you care about where you live, then you have to protect it. And we don't want chemicals going into our aquifers that poison our water. So we fight really hard to do that. And I want to say that I've learned a lot about hard work. I've learned a lot about good education, about focus, that if you put your mind to it, and if you get your community together, you can accomplish anything you want. And I know that we can do this together, and I want to be your voice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Nick Salmon. I've been a councilman on and off since 1980. To go back to my history, I went to work for the phone company as a mail clerk. I realized right away you had to have a college education to get anywhere. I drove 140 miles round trip a day, went to school full-time, and earned a bachelor's degree, and retired as a staff manager for the phone company. In the meantime, I was appointed a town constable back in '77. I went to class, etc. And I served as a police officer for 35 years in various townships in Orange County, receiving meritorious awards, etc. Served as a crime prevention officer, sergeant, and a police administrator for the MTA Police Department. My attendance record is probably 99% with the town board. It's 100% in 2018. And a lot of ideas I came up with over the years. One of them was the state police barracks. We studied it and studied it and studied, and Dennis Greenwald and I were up in Albany, I don't know how many times. We finally made a deal, and we are saving $1.2 million a year in lieu of a police force by having that. We're getting to the point now where we're really stretched, but back then, it really came in handy. They added troopers, they added BCI men. We got it free. Okay, now to get on with the county level, why I'm running, the big issue coming up would be shared services. And I've been studying shared services since 1972 when I went to Rockland Community College, and I was part of like a little panel within the school. And to be honest with you, that shared services in Rockland County, I think 90% of it went out the window. Nobody wants to give up their empires. On the county level here, I'd like to study possibly a county assessor's office where you don't have the equalization rate, one fighting the other. Study it. It may not be feasible, okay? The other item would be the court system. I'm not a fan of a lawyer judge, but we have 36 townships, villages, judges, all over the place. The district attorney is running all over to go to court. If you have it in one centralized building, you probably get everything done. The cop can get back on the road right away. The DA, you won't need as many going all over the place. That's the other point I want to make. And then we have to study, of course, revenue sharing, grants, etc. Eventually, we're going to need some type of revenue sharing with the townships. But if you write a blank check, what happens? You spend it. So there has to be restrictions. Should it go for repaving roads? Should it go to it shouldn't go in a town budget. It has to be for a specific reason. Because I've seen too many times over the years, nobody's fault, but if you got money coming in, you can hold the taxes, but the county government just gave me a check for $100,000, it can't be spent. That's all I can tell you. Thank you.
Are there any questions from the public? David?
Yeah, I would like to know what both candidates, what your thoughts are on broadband improvement in this area, what you would do on the county level, what you would advocate for to improve our broadband service.
First of all, we'd have to work with the phone companies. We have to find out what the rules are, regulations, etc. You have the FCC, you have state agencies. We can't just go in and do what we want, but I do agree, in order to get companies here, or business, you need broadband. And the future will be, people will be working out of their homes. But again, it has to be studied. You know, we have to find out what the rules are with the FCC, etc.
Well, I agree. I think everyone can agree broadband's really important for small businesses. It's really important also for public safety. A lot of people, you have to be able to find your doctors. You need to be able to communicate. So I would absolutely be an advocate for broadband. We only got fast internet like last year, so we couldn't use credit card machines before that. And if we did, they were expensive and pretty inefficient. So imagine having businesses come, you know, into some rural areas where you want them and not being able to function. So I'd absolutely be an advocate on the county level and town level to work with towns and work with small businesses to get broadband everywhere that needs to be.
Other questions? Yes.
What do you feel about consolidating
Could you
villages
please stand up?
consolidating villages into the towns?
That would be up to the municipality. I don't believe we can force a village to dissolve.
No, I know.
Only the state level. For example, Bloomingburg, they should have dissolved, but they didn't. That's up to the voters in their community. Westboro is another situation. They like to keep their identity. If they're willing to pay taxes to keep a village, that's up to them. Villages come in handy. I was a cop in the village of Cold Spring, and because it was such a small village, you got to know everybody. You were able to prevent crime. And so villages have a purpose, but we should consolidate services, maybe tax collection. Instead of having a village do an item, that should be consolidated somehow. Okay.
I'd like to say that I think we are fighting crime in Bloomingburg. We put people in prison, so that's pretty great. But I think that we can do better. I think that the people of Bloomingburg have to step up. We've got to vote. We've got to get together. And Bloomingburg can vote to dissolve Bloomingburg into Mankating. So let's empower people. Let's tell your neighbors. Let's tell the community. Let's get together. Let's band together. And let's give people the voice that they need. Whatever they choose to do, let's support the people who live here and make life better for all of them. And empower them. Empower them to make that choice. That's what I believe.
Yes. Come on, folks.
It'd be my language, I think.
What's going on with the homework? My name's Tom Muldoon, I live near the homework. What's going on with the homework? It's an eyesore, it's all graffitied, and it's a mess. Who owns it? What's going on?
That's really a town issue. However, I'll answer a little of it. Part of the problem, it goes by administrations, including one that I'm on. You sit down with them. I remember Bob Fiore. We sat down with a group of them. They promised them, give them a year or two, fine. Then I understand even Bill Herman met with a certain group, and they promised. And you know, a year goes by, 2 years go by. Whether it was our fault, their fault, the building inspector's fault, I'm sorry, I couldn't answer it. Okay.
Bob, you had a question?
Yeah, the Sullivan Catskills Visitors Association is planning a boondoggle next to the casino, a construction of a building that's in excess of quite a few $1 million, which is smack dab in the middle of the county. Now, it would seem to me that if you're attracting visitors, you would want a facility or more than one facility located out where people enter the county. What does either of you think of that prospect? And what do you think of the accountability of the Catskill Visitors Association, the Sullivan Catskill Visitors Association, to the legislative board?
Okay. I think it has to be more transparent. And you're right, if you're gonna put a visitor center, you put it in the beginning of the township. Well, I'll even go better. It should really be put in Fair Oaks. Why? That just before you enter Sullivan County. And they'll decide whether they want to get off of Bloomsburg, Bellingham, Westboro Hills, etc. If you put it in Westboro, that's fine, but I think you have to put it in the beginning of the county. And to spend 4.1 mil with the technology we have today, you can go to Phillipsport on the thruway and rent a booth. You probably get more business than you would having to have people drive up here. But again, it has to be studied. I did make my voice known up at the county. I'm against the 4.1 million for a visitor center, and I am against where they want to put it. Thank you.
Well, first of all, with the visitor center, I think there's some information that we should all know. The great thing is that the visitor center is not built with taxpayer money. So number one, it's not built with any taxpayer money. I'm not for it, against it. I just think we should all know the facts. And it is come from the money that is collected mainly from the casino rooms. So there's a $5 a night room tax. And that room tax is the money that's collected and spent on the visitor center. And that is required by law to be spent on things like tourism. So there are some limitations financially, legally, that you can't spend that money, the room tax, on things like paving roads. However, I think that they jumped forward and didn't involve the people in their actual community in enough of the decision making. I feel probably like you do, a little bit left behind, a little bit like we weren't consulted. And I also feel like there's a lot of businesses down here that really don't get the attention, and a lot of communities like this one, you know, that are a really big part of the culture here, and we're not being included. So I would fight to have your voice represented, and I would fight to have all of your opinions represented so that we can have a bigger voice at the county. Because that's really, I think, where a lot of this is coming from, is that we are not being represented. Our voice isn't loud enough there. And I do think that Sullivan Catskills Association is great. I know many businesses that they've helped. They've certainly helped ours. They've actually helped revenue for many businesses. But they should be more connected to the Sullivan County Legislature. And I think that we can make that happen. It's very reasonable, and we've no reason why we can't all win and work together to increase this community. Thank you.
Okay.
People are living longer, and people want to live in their houses longer. So, but there's a problem, there's transportation in the county, and there's lack of services for seniors. How would you improve life for seniors? They're now, the federal government is threatening Meals on Wheels. So how could the county take up the slack to help seniors stay in their homes and live not isolated lives?
Well, one of the great things about specifically the Democratic legislature, that we're all sticking together and we're all really pushing together for public transportation. That's something that we have all made a commitment for and a commitment towards. So you can guarantee that if we're in office, we will absolutely fight to get greater transportation for seniors, also for working mothers, also for single parents. So we all need this. If we're going to live here, and if we're going to be a desirable place for people to come and professionals to come, because we all want better doctors, we all want better care. And we can only get those professionals to move here if we have good services like that. And I also believe that we should be able to help seniors with better nutrition. I'm sure there's, places to go and get food. They're few and far between nutritionally. So we need to increase our availability of getting good foods to people and connecting local farms like Winterton Farms, Kent is here, to our community to be able to get good, real food to seniors, to young people, to children, and also to people like vulnerable people like single mothers that might need that extra care. And that helps the farmers, it helps the community, and it can help you, it can help the whole community come together. So, thank you.
Okay, I don't want to be a hothead, but unless we keep the middle class in Sullivan County, we can't be starting new programs unless it's going to be funded by the federal government or the state government. Listen, my mother's 94, but she had a way of getting around. But government just can't be everything for everybody, only while people are moving out of New York. Once they don't move out of New York, I'd be glad to do a transportation. Thank you.
I have a question. I'm an avid user of the linear path, the D&H, which is maintained wonderfully by the county, and it's constantly, it's mowed, it's backfilled, the bridges are put back in it, they're washed out. I want to make sure that the county is committed to the ongoing support of that linear path. If you get these jobs, that's one thing we want you to advocate for, because it's also a big part of the tourism attractions for Mamakating. People are on wheelchairs on that, so it'd be great.
Well, as you know, that's my focus as a business owner and as an environmentalist, and living on the Bashkill area, the association's land, Bashkill Wetlands Preserve. We've got also, amazing hiking. We also have wheelchair accessible areas, not the whole thing, so don't try it. But that is absolutely something that I would support with all of my energies all the time, because that, like you said, increases tourism and it keeps people here and it gives people an outlet. People have to have public spaces. We have to have nature. We have to have wildlife, and it has to be accessible, and it has to be clean, and it has to be safe, and it has to be organized, because this is what brings us together, and this is what gives us dignity and pride in where we live. And this is what brings people here to stay, to live, and to move. And we need young people to move here. We need young families to live here. And so let's draw them here. And this is the way that we can do it and maintain the populations that we do have. And like you said, to build that middle class and to keep that middle class is to have opportunities like this that are protected.
Yes, I do believe in continuing what we have. Expansion might be another question. Again, we got to keep the middle class in Sullivan County. We have roads that are falling apart. A lot of variation. But will I maintain it? Will I keep it? Yes. What we have, we should keep.
And most of the expansion is via grant. We're getting grants.
Exactly.
To build it out.
That's what I said before. Anything with a grant, fine.
And the town has a great resource in grants.
Yes, we do. Yep. We're the ones that got them. Thank you.
I do want to ask her a check. What is your name, by the way?
Samara Ferris.
All right. Do you believe in infrastructure before worrying about trails?
That's a very general, vague statement. Can you
Well,
clarify?
do you believe in let's fix our roads, get the tourists here before we worry about trails?
No,
You don't.
no. I
So you don't
that
believe
these-
it. You don't believe in snow plowing. You don't believe in any of that.
No, yes, no snow plowing for anyone. That's what
All
I'm
right.
voting for.
There you go.
No, we don't need any snow plow, guys.
I'm asking
I
you
believe that
a general question of what your
Yes, I
plan
understand
is.
the question.
You're worried about raking leaves, and I'm worried about our roads that are deteriorating.
Who's going to answer? Who's going to answer? Hold on.
Well, living on one of the worst roads in Sullivan County.
I doubt that.
Pennsylvania Avenue is pretty bad, so take a drive.
South Road's in tough shape.
It's pretty bad. So everyone, if you'd like to see it, take a drive down Pennsylvania Avenue.
I build roads. I do infrastructure. We do that first before we worry about anything else.
Well, sir, I
All right, you've
completely,
asked the question, now you've been answered.
I can tell you that we can do things simultaneously. There's no such thing as, do we plow roads, or do we support our seniors, or do we maintain the Bashkill wetlands? We can actually do all of those things. They are not mutually exclusive. And people aren't going to come here if the roads are terrible, if they can't drive their cars. I understand that. But people have to be able to have infrastructure and have leisure, because leisure is also the thing that brings people to spend money here, that makes them want to come here. So we can have infrastructure and we can have those opportunities for people. We can also have places for them to go and enjoy and spend money, because that's what keeps them here, and that's what keeps families and young people and visitors from the city, from New Jersey, here. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, Pennsylvania Avenue is in the village, nothing to do with the township. South Road is the bad road. How do I feel? I agree with Samara in a way, you have to try to balance, but money just doesn't come from trees. You know, you have to draw like, what do you need? People want to get to work in the wintertime. People, you know, is that more important than maybe plowing the D&H Canal? If they're doing it now on the county program, I'm not against cutting back. But if we're gonna add,
They don't plow any of it, they use stone.
yeah,
Stone speed.
you know, that's what I'm worried about, people moving out of Sullivan County. You know, part of it could be jobs, but it's taxes. Taxes. And as far as the visitor center, the way the bill is written in Albany, it's for tourism. Doesn't necessarily have to go for visitor center. So I think the new legislature has to explore the law, try to get a change in Albany if we can. The money's sitting in the bank from the room tax. So nothing's lost yet. Thank you.
I think we're gonna break off this session now. You guys have supported yourself very well, and I thank you. You've answered the question. Thanks for all the questions were focused. All right, now the candidates for the various town positions.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rob Huffcutt. I live in Somerville. My wife and I and family, we moved here 13 years ago from Goshen, originally from, grew up in Circleville. We were dairy farmers. I worked in construction, you know, on the farm. We always did our own construction, building roads. Then I worked in the concrete business, worked for excavation, building roads, driving truck. I've worked for the highway department for a little over 3.5 years. I believe in serving in the community. I served here at the community center when my boys were younger. I think a lot of the older members remember. And I think it's important that we focus on our infrastructure here. If you drive around and look at a lot of our roads, they need a lot of help. Yes, Samara's South Road is horrible. But, you know, there's only so much money to go around. I didn't want to ask the legislative candidates what they would do to help us get some more money towards roads, but that would be a question that at a later time. But, you know, as residents in Mamakating, what do we see from our tax dollars? When we pay our taxes, the only thing we really see is what's done on the roads. What made me decide to run? Just I guess I wanted to see if I could make a change, do something a little different. Not that Buddy's wrong or I'm right or vice versa. Everybody has a difference in opinion, and I believe that I could do things a little bit differently and serve it in the community. So as far as on my background of experience, I bring a lot of qualifications to the table, and my work ethic. Most people that know me know I work very hard, and I take a lot of pride in the work that I do, and I instilled that in my family as well. I don't know anything else, Bill.
The fire department.
Yeah.
I really don't want to use that as anything. I appreciate that, but I don't want to use that as any service. That's something I think that each and every one here should always try to do their best and volunteer for the community, whether it be in the fire department, ambulance corps, community center. Because I know when we moved here, I can't believe the difference in the change just in Phillipsport. We helped, I can remember when we were put the garden center down there where the little library is at the corner. You know, what that was like, because that was the old road. I remember when we were digging the plants, the blacktop that was there. So as it's grown over the years, you know, with seeing what volunteers have done in this community, you know, you fixed the, also in Summitville by Blue Sky, and the cemetery has come a long way. So if there is somebody here who doesn't volunteer, I would really try to reach out into your inner self to see what you can give to the community, because we all can offer something to our community. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Highway Superintendent Buddy Platt. I'm your Highway Superintendent at this point in time. I would like to stay with this job. I put forth a lot of heart, a lot of days that I left my family at Thanksgiving dinner and things of that nature for a lot of years to make sure that the town roads have made it this far. I have 21 years of service as a town and Namaquaning employee. I have 6 years as your highway superintendent. As we talk about government fundings and things of that nature, I just want to point out that the town of Namaquaning, since I've been in office, we spent over $2 million of government-funded money that didn't come out of your pockets. Tax money that has been gone up to New York State, and New York State has brought it back to us through, we go up for Advocacy Day, and we fight on the steps, and you might have seen it on the news. That's what we do to get as much money back into Namaquaning as we can, along with other townships. So I have a list here, if anybody would like to see it, of every year, of every mile of road that we have repaired in the town of Namaquaning or resurfaced on a resurface program. Now, yes, I do know that there's roads that have fallen through the cracks. South Road is part of that. We have already completed half of the South Road. We are looking to complete the other half of the South Road as we get a county bridge to get us there. Right now, both county bridges, one is out completely, having repair done to it, and the other one only has a 10-ton weight limit. So if you look at the understandings right now, the oil truck would have to go all the way into Orange County to deliver your oil, because he's not able to cross either bridge, the Haven Cross Road, which is out, and the ball field in Wardsboro. So, yes, the South Road has fallen through the cracks for the meantime, and I certainly have intentions on doing that as soon as I get one of those bridges back, and we can get started up again. There is a few things that, you know, we've been working on at the Highway Department. Like I said, we have this road list here, if anybody would like to see it. And we have a list of all the equipment. Everything on this list in green has been replaced since I've been in office. I pushed to have one heavy four-wheel drive truck in each corner of the township. You have one in Winterton, one on the other side over here, one in Westbrookville, and all four corners now has one large heavy four-wheel drive truck besides the other plow trucks that are there at this point in time. And that came through as a bond. We received a bond to put the trucks and the machinery in service. When I came to the Highway Department, we had one machine in this town of Namaquaning. We couldn't put water into it. It was only allowed to be used for 5 minutes in the yard, and that was something that we were supposed to fall back on if we ever had an emergency, was that one loader in the yard that you couldn't even put water into, and the other loader wasn't soon far behind that. Since I've been in office, we replaced a lot of this equipment. John Platt, when he was in office, he put the first backhoe on a town of Namaquaning road to dig a culvert pipe. Since I've been in office, I put the first excavator into the town of Namaquaning to start repairing these roads up the right way, put the proper drainage into them, the right way, and then when we resurface them, save what we have, surface what we have, and then go on to larger roads, which would be like the South Road, which needs a full makeover. Red Hill Road truly needs a full makeover. Needs all the drainage and all the culvert pipes, and I also have a bridge I have to do. Since I've been in office, I replaced the Phillipsport bridge down here. The next one will probably be the Red Hill Road, probably this season. So those of you that are out in that neck of the woods, you're going to have to be prepared to make other arrangements to get around that. But that's what I'm looking forward to do. I'm looking forward to keep the town of Namaquaning going forward and fixing what we have. And if you're on a road that is in disrepair, we're not going to let it get unsafe. And I'm certainly not going to let it go and fall through the cracks. We will get there eventually. And I think that pretty much covers the reasons why I'm looking to do what I'm doing.
Hi, my name is Graham Vest.
Would you use the mic, please?
Would you like me to?
Yes.
And the guitar.
I know, right. You tell me if you can hear it. My name is Graham Vest. I live in Burlingame. I moved here back in 1992. My wife and I moved there. We raised a family there and have lived there since. Just redid our kitchen, so we're leaving soon. Back in 2016, I retired as a social studies teacher at Ellenville High School, which had been my reason to come up here. And with my free time, I began attending town board meetings more regularly. And eventually I was appointed as an alternate to the town zoning board, the ZBA. And that itself was an education. I participated in that. And then in the fall of, I guess, 2017, I ran for the seat in the newly created Ward 2 and began my term in 2018. So I've been there for a year, almost two. And during this time, I've worked specifically with the Parks Department, with the zoning board, as well as with the seniors. And that experience, I think the Parks Department is really important. The Parks Department manages the town's buildings, its trails, and its resources. So there was talk earlier about the trails. A couple of years ago, I got a black lab who required a lot of walking, and so I discovered most of the trails in the town several times over, and working with Karen and working with others, helping to secure grants. The town buildings, one of which is the Bloomingburg restoration. Following the vote to sell and the permissive referendum that stopped that sale and the animosity that was going on in the town at that time, I worked to bring together sort of members of both sides. We created a committee with people from each ward, and we came up with a list of ideas. We were able to get a historical architect to come and review the building and really get a sense of what shape it was in, what was good, what was bad. We budgeted some money, and finally, hopefully in the next day or so, they're going to begin working on the steps. So we finally got that started. So I remember while up at the church one day, I found photographic evidence of myself with a guitar back in the previous century, and I remember those steps being broken then. It's really been a problem for a long, long time, and so we finally taken action. So I feel successful in that. Another major issue involving the Parks Department and these town buildings and town resources is the new master plan, the comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan really works to maintain our rural character, to protect the resources that brought many of us here. It's important that our town buildings and Arts Alliance, the Historical Society, the Environmental Education and Interpretive Center, the Bloomingburg Church are maintained and draw people, because really in a lot of ways bringing people up to this town is going to be the thing that helps our town grow and prosper in a way that helps us all. So I find that's very important, as well as working with the seniors. I know there was a question earlier about activities. We do have a senior center down in town. They're there from Monday through Thursday. We're trying to push that to Monday through Friday. There is transportation provided to go there, so if you are interested in that, I can connect you with people who would be able to allow that to happen. It's a pretty lively bunch. I come down and visit them regularly. You also have the county RSVP, which is a pretty active organization. They have an annual luncheon that I've been able to attend, and it's really quite a vibrant group. I think as a candidate and as in search of my re-election, I bring some sort of a variety of skills. I began my teaching career as a Peace Corps volunteer over in Morocco for 2 years, and living overseas in that sort of situation, I regularly confronted people with a very different worldview, shall we say, than my own. And I learned and continue to learn how to work with people with very different views. I sort of pride myself. I've had people with t-shirts that represent a very different political view than mine sign my petition. So I think I'm good at that. And secondly, being a teacher, to be effective as a teacher, one has to listen. If you just get up and rant and rave, filibuster, it's not going to get you anywhere. So I've really developed that skill over 30 years of teaching, and I think I continue that here. And finally, I think I've started working with different people in the town on some great things that are going to really help us. And that's the important thing for me, is to give me time to finish some of these things. They used to say in the Peace Corps, it's a 2-year process. The first year you get your feet on the ground, second year you can actually do something. And I find being on the town board, despite my social studies knowledge, I learned an awful lot these first 2 years, and I'd really like to be able to put them to work a little further. Not that I haven't done much yet, but that I keep doing what I've been doing in the next 2 years. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, my name is Bo Tuna, running for Town Supervisor. I'd like to say good afternoon to the fellow residents and candidates, and thank Bill and the Phillipsport community for having us here today. I think it's very important, and I'm glad to see that we're all here. A little bit about myself. I'm a lifelong Mamakating resident. I've grown up in Westbrookville all of my life. My family moved to Mamakating in the early 1900s and settled here. So we've had a long-standing relationship in the town of Mamakating. I attended Port Jervis City Schools, graduated from there. I've been in the Westbrookville Volunteer Fire Company since I was 16, so a little bit over 32 years now. I was the first junior firefighter there. I was the first, one of the earliest drivers of apparatus there, one of the first earliest officers there. Through my time at the firehouse, I have made my way through the line and now am the chief of the department. I help write grants through the department. I've probably since 2002, it's about $250,000 worth of grants that I've written and through state and federal agencies to get funding in. Gonna hope there are some other firefighters in here, and I don't want to upset them, but I'm gonna say we're very proud of what we do. We're actually a not-for-profit, so it's we contract to the town for service. So it's not that we can always just go out and bond and get and raise taxes. So we're able to take what we've done, and I think if anybody, just like you guys are proud of your place, if you drive by the fire station, I think we have one of the nicest fire stations in the town, and if you look at the amount of money that we get because of a small tax base, what we can do with that is pretty amazing. Sometimes people say to me, like, I don't understand how you guys do that. I say, I don't understand how come you can't do that. So I'm always one to go out and say, let's do something that, you know, some people say are impossible. I live in Westbrookville with my wife Christine and son Lewis, and he's got me up against some big competition now. He's running for secretary in his HPE school for secretary. And he said to him the other day, I said, Lou, you know, you're really giving me, you know, a lot to live up to here with this. And he said, well, Dad, if you don't win, I will. So hopefully we have two politicians in the House come November, but, you know, at least hopefully, you know, one, and he'll show me up. Work experience, I've been a paramedic for 27 years. I got a certificate from Dutchess Community College in my paramedic degree. I've worked in Pennsylvania, New York. Now the company I work for, I've been there for 27 years. So at Rockland Paramedic Services and Rockland Mobile Care. Through that, I started out as a field paramedic. Shortly after that, I was moved up to station lieutenant, which I ran a station in Spring Valley, New York, which we were the busiest truck there, doing about 5,000 calls a year. Then in 2007, I was moved up to operations captain for Rockland Paramedic Services. And then last year, I was moved up to deputy chief of Rockland Paramedic Services and Rockland Mobile Care. We're an over $8 million a year company. We have 200 employees. We service all of the county of Rockland and the town of Tuxedo. Some of my duties there include staff development, hiring process, I do all the new employee screenings and teach them, what we need to do in the organization. We are also a not-for-profit, so once again, I come from that world of you just can't go and you can't bond and you can't just keep asking the people for more money. We have to take what we get and make the best out of it. So it's very tough today, especially if anybody knows how things are going in the medical field and billing with the government and insurance companies. Everybody's trying to cut, so we have to keep the same service that we've had there for many, many years, which is one of the best services in this area of the state that you'll find, and we've been able to do that. A little bit, we were talking about how to get across to young people. I think I have the best of both worlds. I deal with elderly people who are sick. I deal with a lot of young people coming into our profession. And over the 27 years of working there and being a supervisor, there are differences even in the old employees and the new employees. So I think bringing people into our community that are going to be younger, I think I can also identify with them and understand their needs just as well as I can with the elderly people of our town, because I see that side of it too. See, a little bit outside. I went to, same thing as I wanted to push myself. I always see doing something different. I did not go to college right out of high school, so I went to Orange County Community College. I have a 2-year degree in business management. I thought that would also help me in what I do, not only at home volunteering, but at my job. And I think all that experience comes into the town, and I think that I have a skill set. Some people say, why do you want to run? Again, I think I have a skill set. I've always been here in the town. I was on the zoning board for a term, and I think that if it gets other people to see that you can do something, I'm not going to know everything. I'm going to learn. Obviously, you can see by my resume and volunteering and work, I'll go out, I'll try to find the answer. I can work with anybody. When the call goes out at home or at work, it doesn't matter to me who that is. I have to look at those people just as equal. So when you come into my office, I don't care if you run against me and I win and you didn't, there's going to be no animosity there. I'm going to look at my people, whoever it may be, at this table, and we're going to work together. It's community. The only way we can get it done, and I think that we've been pretty proud as a candidate group that it's been, so far, I think that this political season's been run very well, and that we respect everybody, and that's why we have such a good turnout here today. So again, I'd like to thank everybody and hope you give me a chance, and if you give me your vote, it's going to be very well taken seriously, and I know that in the way we run our country, a vote is a very big thing. So thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Brenda Giraldi. First, I want to thank everybody for giving me and the rest of the candidates the privilege of having this opportunity today. It means an awful lot. My family is here. I'm a married woman with my husband Frank back there. I've got my grandson Caleb, and I have a beautiful daughter. What got me involved in the situation that we had going on back in 2011, 2012 was a situation down in Bloomingburg. Politics was never on my bucket list, but there was something that drove me to become a part of something much bigger than myself. And I joined with a bunch of people called the Rural Community Coalition, and started out with 4 people on Facebook, no less, where we found out that there was a government official that was willing to not listen to 80 people at a town board meeting, and said it would take a lot more than 80 of you to change my vote in spot zoning. I went home and I said to my husband, I said, you know, there has to be something very, very wrong with government, and even at a local level, when a council person or somebody that's running the government says that your voice doesn't count. That was a problem. And I went home and I said to my husband, I said, I'm going all in. He knew exactly what that meant. We were up against It was Goliath against the little guy. We didn't think we had a snowball chance in trying to conquer or just wrap our arms around what was going on in our community. This wasn't just Bloomingburg. This would affect all of Mamakating if it hadn't been stopped. What we did is we tamped it down as board members, as a community, and this was an all-out community effort to investigate what was going on in our town, not only with the perpetrators that ended up in federal prison, but also with our own elected officials in the town and in the village. So that was what drove me into this. Now, fast forward to 2014, we're now elected. We had no idea what we were up against. We had no idea how to run a government effectively. We've had a business, my husband and I have a pretty good idea on how to manage the situation. But we also had on top of us a lot of lawsuits. And with that, we tackled them one by one. We were personally sued. There was 3 of us that were personally sued, and 3 of us are probably in every court document, in every courtroom that we filed or the opposite party filed. During the time that I've been in office, we have united as a team, and I really believe in a team approach. It's very effective, you get more done, you park your egos at the door, you walk in, you sit down, and you negotiate, and it's very effective with each other. And guess what? Sometimes other people have better ideas, and that's exactly how we got things done the way we did. We walked in there, the infrastructure in our town, as far as town-owned buildings, was completely in a shambles. And so one of the first things we did is we addressed that. We put some paint in the community room, we put some 2x2s and 4x4s and some window framing, and voila. That place is booked. Every one of our buildings, whether it's the town park with the 2 community rooms down there, or if it's the community room at town hall, they're booked every week. May, forget it, you can't get anything down at the town park because so many people have already registered. So we approached everything as a team and how we were going to tackle these issues, where are we going to get the money from? We have a grant writer, Karen Barnes, who was instrumental in securing $1.5 million in grants for the town so that we could do the things that we did. The seniors, they needed more parking. We've got the largest senior group in Sullivan County. We had very limited space for people to park, let alone handicap parking, so that was expanded. There was no lighting. We had state troopers that are going to the courtroom in the back at night trying to process people. They've had situations where they've had very combative people, whether it be due to alcohol, drugs, or something other than that. So they were working with one hand behind their back in those type of situations. We were able to secure grants for appropriate lighting for the front of that building as well as the back. We also have a master plan now that has been antiquated. The last plan was done in 2001. It took 5 years for us during the 6 years that I've been in office as a councilwoman and 2 years as a deputy supervisor to actually do what's called a hydrogeological study. Nobody in Sullivan County has done that. We did. And because of the time commitment that this required, 5 years, I guess, wasn't too long, especially with the product that was turned out. We had an outstanding committee, which was made up of the community. We had wonderful workshops that was called charrettes, and people actually let us know exactly what they wanted. So this master plan is not the town board's. It is the community's master plan. And unanimously, overwhelmingly, everybody wants tourism. So our job, or the next town board's job, is to make sure that the ancillary services are in place to promote tourism, not only marketing, but also you have to have restaurants, you have to have bed and breakfast, you have to have some other forms of short-term rentals so that people can come here and there can be some type of entertainment for them. But again, it has to be community driven. We have to have the community's input on what they want. One of the things that we were successful in the 6 years that we've been in office was to give the government back to the community. We're your employee. You are our employer. And that's how we've always treated people. Our expectations are what your expectations are. Whatever the general consensus is, that's the way the board should actually decide on some of the decisions that they make. We've made a lot of progress. In the last 2 years that I've served as deputy supervisor, I've had the privilege of working with Bill Herman. He has shown me the ropes as far as day-to-day operations. I have the support of all the employees, as well as the support of a lot of people in this community. And I greatly appreciate it. This experience has been humbling. It, again, was much, much bigger than what I ever expected. But we just kept our nose down, our feet on the ground, and we just kept moving forward. Were mistakes made? Of course. There isn't anybody in this room that can say that they've approached anything in life where we haven't had some mistakes along the way. And we have, and we've learned from them. I've learned from them. So I'm looking to be the next supervisor. I have the skill set and the talent to lead. I have the skill and the talent to negotiate fairly with just not contract negotiations, but also to negotiate with my fellow board members and knowing when to back up and listen. My background is also as a paramedic. I was involved in emergency services for over 25 years. I've been retired for many years now, so I would be one of the elder ones. That's okay. So, and actually I did work for Rockland Paramedic Services as well, so I do know Bo Tuno and his family quite well. The job that we have as far as paramedics is not one that's very easy. It's spur of the moment decisions have to be made. They have to be made quickly, and a lot of them are life and death situations. You can take control at a very, very rapid pace. And also have the folks that you're dealing with, the patient and family or spectators that are around, to get their attention so that you can get the situation under control, which again is a matter of seconds. So I believe that I have a well-rounded resume as well, as far as what my prior life was, and also the 6 years that I've been in office. Again, the infrastructure has been very important to us as far as maintaining and fixing what needed to be fixed. We obtained grants for a heating system when we first came into office. It was running on 2 pistons with 3 boilers. And we're not sure exactly why none of this stuff was completed or why it wasn't kept up and maintained. It didn't matter. We just got ourselves, we just went to work and fixed the things we needed to fix. Some of the things that I would like to do is, if I am fortunate enough to be the next town supervisor, is to actually institutionalize the things we have done. We're working on the zoning right now. We expect to have that completed, hopefully no later than December 1st, or our first meeting. And our master plan, we want to have that on board for a while longer too, so that that too can be solidified, as well as what we have done to bring this community better to a better place than what it was. And it certainly is now in the hands of the community, and that's where I'd like to leave it. Thank you.
not that good at public speaking, so I have to bear with me a minute. My name is Gary Forthoffer. I'm a 33-year resident here in the town of Manhattan in Burlingame. I moved out here in 1987, built my house. My wife, my daughter, and I have lived out here all that time. My daughter has been through Pine Bush schools and is actually the one that started to get me interested in politics out here. A little background on me, my family, my grandmother and my great-grandfather have a connection with the town of Manhattan going back to about 1880 or before. My grandmother actually was born on the Gordon farm on Gordon Road back in 1892. And my great-grandfather, Napoleon Bonaparte Horton, of all names, you can look it up, it's a real name, was working on that farm about the time, probably prior to the Civil War. Our family records are a little sketchy going way back. About myself, I've been a volunteer fireman in Middletown for 41 years. I went through the line with second lieutenant, first lieutenant, and captain. Since then, I've been company secretary for approximately 31 years, which helps dealing with, there's 7 different companies in Middletown, plus the fire police and city hall. So you've got to be able to work with all the other 7 companies, which all have their different needs. There's 5 engine and 2 truck companies in Middletown, and it's always hard to get volunteers staffed up. So we do recruiting, we do fire prevention, we do a lot of different things in Middletown to try to get some additional elected firemen. Personally, I've been a commercial insurance adjuster for the past 42 years. I've dealt with everything from small fires to down there at World Trade Center in 2001. I ended up trying to deal with people who think that they should get more money, insurance companies who don't think should get any money. And it's a lot of communication back and forth for all of those years. And I think that's one of the qualifications that I will bring to the job if I'm elected to the second ward, would be the ability to sort of reach across the table, talk to people who may not agree with me or I may not agree with them. On my job, plus with the fire department, it's a lot of negotiation back and forth, and you can't just stand your ground and not have a little bit of room to negotiate in between. I know that's difficult at times. One of the reasons I moved out here, and I bought my lot in 1986, built a house in 87. One of the reasons I came out here was, first of all, to get out of Middletown. But I liked it out here. My parents and my grandparents had a cabin up at Yankee Lake for probably 45 years. And I spent an awful lot of my younger days, my teenage years up at Yankee Lake, which was a great place to go just to get away from Middletown and some of the problems in Middletown. Why I'm running? My daughter started pushing me to get a little bit more active since I've been out here. My time at the fire department in Middletown is pretty much running down. So I thought it was going to be a good chance to get a little bit more involved in the community. I know other people up here have spoken about the roads, what happened in Bloomingburg years ago. So some of the things I would like to see I'd like to see the roads get a lot better. I know that everyone has tried to do some with roads. I happen to live on Echo Road, so if anybody's ever been up and down Echo Road, you'll know that it's more potholes and patched than anything else. Some of the other roads around us have been paved. We're still waiting for my road to get paved. It's just a lot of wear and tear, and I think that's one of the big selling points. We've got an awful lot of tourist attractions up this way. We've got the environmental center. We've got a whole host of things leading up into Sullivan County. Legislative candidates were talking about the tourism center. I think it should be here in the town of Manhattan. This is kind of the gateway towards Sullivan County. And whether you put it at exit 113 or somewhere else, that's something that the town or somebody would have to decide. But I think it would be a great boon for tourism here in the town of Manhattan. A couple things I'd like to change. I'm not a big fan of high-density housing, but with that said, I think that we could use some lower density housing, so to speak, especially possibly a low-cost housing for seniors. I am now a senior, so I know that there are problems with other people getting housing. So, I mean, that's possible. I don't know if that's within the town building code or not, but those are things we'd like to address. Some smart business development. I mean, we don't need to become the town of Walk Hill with a Miracle Mile on Route 211, but I think that we could cultivate some smaller businesses that we do have. But I think there's, with some additional planning and grant writing, we might be able to kind of cultivate some additional small businesses for employment, places for tourists to come and either eat or stay, either a bed and breakfast, bed and breakfast, thank you, or a smaller hotel. We don't need a casino-sized hotel, but maybe a smaller hotel that people can stay at for a week or two while they enjoy the township. That's really about it. I don't think that we need to overdevelop the town. We don't need giant housing complexes. But I think we can reach a smart balance between residential housing and business development. So that's really all about all I got to say.
Hi, I'm Janet Lyle. I'm running to be our town supervisor. I'm endorsed by the Democratic and the Conservative Party. Thanks, Fred. And I will appear on the ballot on those lines as well as the advocating first line, which is a non-party line. I'm also endorsed by Eleanor's Legacy, and Eleanor's Legacy was founded in 2001 by Judith Hope, who was a town supervisor who was elected on Long Island. And this is inspired by Eleanor Roosevelt. Their mission is to recruit, train, and fund pro-choice Democratic women in state and local offices across our state. And I'm very proud to be honored with one of their endorsements of 2019. I have been very active in Mammakading's government for the past 8 years. I've attended most town board meetings, and it was because of that that I became involved in government, listening to a prior supervisor's ranting and disallowing comments from the public. And it was at that point that I said to my husband, David, we have to become involved. And I have been ever since. I was appointed to the planning board and served in 2014 through 2015. This term on the planning board was among one of the most difficult times on the planning board. The Bloomingburg Planning Board had been dissolved during the Shalom Lamb incidents, and Mammakading took over for Bloomingburg. It was because of that my personal emails were subpoenaed and scrubbed, but I was never called to testify because it was found not to have any anti-Semitic emails or anything in that venue. I ran for town board in November of 2015 and was elected and served as your councilwoman for 2016 and 2017 along with Brenda. And we did a lot of wonderful things in those years, and I'm very proud of. It was a very turbulent time also because we were being sued, and we stood firm because we were not giving in as the county did and admitting wrongdoing because we did no wrongdoing, and we stood firm. It was a very tumultuous time, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So we are much stronger as a community because of that. But now we need to unify. And that is part of my platform. My platform is unity, because through community, you can't have community without unity. While I was on the town board, I was liaison to the Parks Department. I saved taxpayers approximately $50,000 on resurfacing the tennis courts by sourcing and sourced the materials, and with the help of the Parks and Highway Department, we did it in-house instead of contracting out. We had 2 bids. I believe one was $55,000, the other was $85,000. So, you know, on one item, you can save a lot of money by working within your town with the resources that you have. I was liaison to the courts, tax collector, youth and adult programs, parks, rec, and historic preservation, security, arts alliance, and disaster response. I have always been environmentally conscious. I wrote the resolution in opposition to the Millennium Compressor Station or any compressor station proposed to be built in the town of Mamakating and the town of Highland. This was adopted by our board in 2016. I also wrote the resolution in opposition to the proposed Thompson Education Center, aka China City. I've been very involved in following this since Sherry Lee first appeared in the town of Thompson. We are not an island. We don't stand alone. And I am very involved in going to the different meetings of Phillipsburg and Thompson to see what's going on in their towns, because they're connected to us and it affects us. So I've been fighting that with Phillipsburg and Thompson. With Bashkill, Dave and I went to their public hearing, and I spoke out against them allowing the Thompson Education Center to build a 9,000 square foot residence. Now, I know no one here has 9,000 square feet of house with 4 kitchens and 4 entrances, and is built with construction material that is, you know, totally built for a commercial unit. But even though we spoke against it, they did allow it. So I am continuing to monitor that situation because it borders our property, it borders our town, and it affects our water. One of the things that I focused on when I was elected was securing our airport. We have a beautiful airport that is phenomenal as far as one of the premier airports, glider airports in the area. It is the largest tract of land still available in our town, and I approached the board about purchasing it, and through the LDC, we went into looking into that. It's important that we purchase this airport so that the town controls it, either its growth or lack of, and we don't have to fight another Yukaguni mushroom factory and put thousands of dollars in legal fees into fighting something that is not good for our town. I looked into it, and the amount of money based on the amount of purchase price that purchasing that airport would cost, the average tax parcel is $20.92 a year. And that's to begin with. That's before it makes any money. And I have a lot of ideas to put into the airport through the, you know, the Pilots Association is on board. I've been talking with them, and there are good things that we can do for this community at the airport. My focus has always been about town and community, and I have proven this by my community participation. From 2015 to present, I've been a member of the Mamakating Canal Committee, working on our trails with Karen Barnes, where Karen managed to get $1.2 million in grant money to help our trail system. I am treasurer and trustee of Poplar Grove Cemetery. We took that over in 2011 when it was falling into disrepair, and we've worked tirelessly with our trustees to make it a beautiful, respected parcel once again. We came up with the Grateful We're Not Dead concert in the cemetery, which I was proud to say was our 5th year. And Graham played for the last two years? 2 years, right?
3 years.
3. And was gracious enough, our musicians donate their time and talent. It serves to keep the cemetery mowed, help to keep it mowed, and also it brings the community together. People, enjoy coming and seeing other community members, and it also brings awareness that the cemetery is viable and beautiful once again. I'm also a member of this Phillipsport Community Center. I served as trustee and former vice president. I'm a member of the Mammoth Democratic Committee and also an active voting member of the Sullivan County Democratic Committee. I have been a member of the Democratic Women of Sullivan County. This was formed to further women in political office. I joined 3 years ago and served as vice president in 2017, and then was elected to president and served 2018. Currently serving on the steering committee for the Democratic Women. I campaigned for Senator Jen Metzger, and was very proud when she became our senator. Locally, I have actively followed China City, like I said, and will continue to do so because that is very important on our front. We don't need, in Yankee Lake, I was on the when I was on the board, they were proposing the Chinese Disney World in Yankee Lake. And, needless to say, we really don't need that at Yankee Lake. I'm also a member of Bloomingburg Restoration Foundation. I'm relatively new member. I joined in 2018. I was asked by the Restoration Foundation to help save the church. And I'm very proud to say that I helped them, and in doing so, we managed to save a beautiful piece of history. And to my knowledge, this is the only time in our government that a vote of the board, the town board, has been overturned by a permissive referendum and a vote of the people, 550 to 31, not to sell. Also a member of the BKAA and of the Mammoth Historical Society. History is very important to my husband and I. I'm a relative newcomer here. 25 years ago, I set foot in our small town and loved it. My husband's family's been here since mid-1700s. And I'm happy and I love being able to live in a place where people come to vacation. And I would like to see it remain that way. But we do need growth. And we do need smart growth. And I'd like to be able to participate with that. Some of the qualifications that make me able to take on the responsibilities of running our town. It's 59 plus employees, and the $7 million plus budget is for 10 years. I was the assistant to a special ed high school on Long Island. I was responsible for 100 students, 55 employees, and liaison to 42 school districts. I worked for 7 years in direct support to the president of a local community bank, and I was responsible to him and the board of directors. I was also coordinator of the bank's individual retirement accounts. I administered a fixed office budget and took care of all of the shareholders, to name a few. I was president of Mid-State Metals. This was a company that my husband and I formed in order to come up here to live full-time. And it was a steel company. I wrote our business plan. I marketed it to 2 banks who gave us the capital to build a 12,000 square foot warehouse ourselves. We didn't have the money to hire a contractor, so we did it ourselves. I currently work for the head of personnel for Sullivan County. Mamakating is a township that is under civil service regulations, and I know civil service law, hiring, firing, disciplining. I have always been financially responsible, both in my jobs and personally, and will continue to have the town's best interest at heart. As supervisor, I will continue to put our town and our community first. I wish to continue the positive direction that we've taken, continue to fight corruption, work with our villages because that is important. They are our business districts, and the supervisor needs to work with the mayors, all right? And protect our environment, economic future, and quality of life. One of the things that Judy asked was about transportation. Now, recently, Sullivan County initiated a bus route, except they left Mamakating off. All right, so maybe our next legislator can look into that.
I will.
Because we do belong here, okay? We are the forefront of Sullivan County. And as far as the tourist center, yes, it's not tax dollars, it's from our room tax. However, a $4.2 million brick and mortar building, one building is not needed. How many times have you gone, when you want to go on vacation, do you go into Liberty to their building that's currently in Liberty, to the tourist building, to see where you're going? No, you go online. And we need to maybe look into having possibly 3 buildings with that $4.1 million at different locations in Sullivan County. One here in Mamakating, one in Rockland County, in Roscoe, and one down on 97 when you come in from PA. That would make more sense to me, to share the wealth and to hit everybody to fully cover and promote our great area. Let's see. The other thing was that we really need to work together now. We fought hard to fight corruption and let people know that we're not going to back down, we're not going away. And my husband calls me the motivator. I guess so, you know. I work hard and I encourage people to come forward and help. And that's what makes a community unbelievably great. And that's what I look forward to. And I ask that you cast your vote for me and for town supervisor in the November 5th election so I can continue to make this a very, very wonderful place to live. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Lacey. I'm running for Ward 3 Councilman. I'm endorsed by the Republican Party, Independent Party, and the Conservative Party. I'm originally from Western Pennsylvania. I was transferred up here in 1977 with my company. I'm a retired Teamster with 28 years in the Teamster industry. I'm also had 8 years in the Air Force. I have 42 years in Little League. And in the 42 years, the last 6 years, I was the district administrator for Orange and Sullivan County, responsible for 23,000 families, individual contracts, bylaws, and constitutions. I have 38 years in the American Legion program. I'm currently the county commander for Sullivan County. I'm a firm believer in the Veterans Program, respect for our country, respect for our values. One of the issues that we have in our country is working together. I learned many years ago, I'm a team player. I believe in 100% of the ward system. What goes on in Ward 3 may not be going on in Ward 1, and the issues may be different. But in the overall picture for the town of Mamakating, all issues become one. I'm a negotiator. I'm a good listener. And I learned many years ago, you have to listen to both sides of the issue before you make a decision. I'm not a bobblehead. And what I mean by a bobblehead, someone who sits up on the dais and does this with no input or corrected or asked questions. I'm a team player, like I said. I believe in the ward system. In order to advance this community, we have to learn to work together and live together. And my experiences in all the programs that I've been through in my life, my entire life, I have served our country, our community, and our town. I've been an active member of this community. I respect everyone who lives in our community, the way we live. We love our trees and our space. I look forward to serving for you, and I guarantee you, no issue will come in for me without me thoroughly inspecting it or finding out all the information on that issue. Any contracts, bylaw changes, or anything like that. So I thank you. I would like to have your support in Ward 3, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Hi folks, my name is Matthew Mordas. I'm running for Ward 3 Town Councilman. First off, I'd like to thank the Phillipsport Community Center for hosting this event. Please let me tell you a little bit about myself. I moved up here in 2003. I like having property next to state land. I really love the area for what it has. I work for an engineering firm. I've been there for about 26 years outside of Middletown. I also am your chairman of your zoning board. I've been chairman since 2014. And also I was appointed to the steering committee for the comprehensive master plan revision. Something I'm very proud of. I enjoyed working with numerous people in the community. It was an open process, which I was very impressed about and happy to be part of. I moved up here to live in the country, not the city. I brought a couple articles with me. I read the Times Herald Record. One of these articles, pardon me. This is dated July 23rd of this year. Why are young professionals fleeing the Hudson Valley? Another article, a little more recent, October 3rd. Report paints gloomy Hudson Valley picture. Let's face it, the Orange County model, the development, the Legolands, the high-density housing, it's broken. People are leaving the area. The taxes are high. So people that propose this for us, it's not a solution. We need to work with each other, adhere to our new master plan, promote small businesses, ecotourism. To touch on what Samara said before, it's not a choice either or. We can do all of these things. Yes, I want better roads. I'd love to work with the next superintendent of the highway department, but we need to stay under the 2% cap. And if we can do that, I think it's a great thing. My platform is to adhere to the master plan, continue with the open, clean government that we've had since Bill Herman was elected supervisor. I myself too was involved in a lawsuit, had my computer scrubbed. We passed with flying colors. I'd like to continue to maintain and modernize our facilities. Our town buildings were in awful shape. It's really important that we maintain these things. It's good in the long term to have planning to keep our taxes low, to maintain them and not wait for everything to break. And also, I'd like to protect the ward system. I'm here because I've walked the walk. I've worked with the government. I've heard some people in this room decry the ward system as being inconvenient, but it's really important to adhere to this thing, to give every section of the town a voice in the government. And so, a little experience on my zoning board. I've really enjoyed working on my zoning board. I work with great board members. Pardon me. It's been very rewarding in certain aspects. We've been able to help some small businesses get through some of the red tape and grow in this community, and also help out some homeowners in tough situations. It could be a little upsetting sometimes. I've had to uphold an antiquated code, work with it, uphold the code against some of my neighbors even. And also, currently we are working on improving our code. And I'm asking people to be a little patient. We're going to get it done. It'll closely match our master plan. And so I'm here to strongly support and adhere to the master code. And I hope I'm the beneficiary of your vote come November. Thank you.